NCAA 25 is obviously the hotly aspired to have video game that's going to come out this summer. NCAA football was a staple for many of us, maybe many of you in the chat. It's something that we love to take that MAC school and build them up, and then you go and you get a big job at a Power 5 and you try to win a national championship. That is coming back this summer. However, there was news that broke that the way in which players are going to be in the game now is essentially they're going to get paid $600 if they opt to be in the game. If they opt out of the game, then you're not allowed to create a player like their likeness. So there's definitely some kind of infrastructure here that the NCAA has built. And I say NCAA, I should say EA Sports. EA Sports has built to try to protect these players that opt out, to make sure that there aren't folks out there, because there are, who build rosters and put them in the game anyways. But I have a thing where now I get on X.com and I see people complaining about the fact that the players only get $600. Somehow now it's these players need to be protected. This is the first sign of there needing to be a collective bargaining agreement about how the players need to have a union. And this is where, Elliot, you ready for it?
I'm ready.
This is where you lose me. Because nobody that buys this game outside of a handful of players is going to not buy the game because somebody opted out. I think if you want to be honest, the $600 is I think it's actually a pretty nice thing they're doing. And you know what? I hear you. Some of you are going to sit here and say, Trace, you're being ridiculous. CJ Strouds of the world, the Tim Tebow's of the world, the Justin, not Justin, but the Caleb Williams of the world, Justin Fields. Those are worth more than $600. And I would say you're right. They are. But I got news for you. This is either going to be fair across the board, to where if you're going to pay the proverbial backup safety $600 to be in the game, then you don't have enough money, quite frankly, to make it fair, which is what everyone wants to make this to be. It isn't fair. It's going to be almost impossible to be fair unless you have this one idea, which I think you can implement, and I don't think it'd be all that difficult. For every player that wants to opt out, that the game deems as being so valuable they think people wouldn't buy it or people would be upset that they're not in it, that's going to be a handful of players, let's face it. We're talking about the starting quarterback. We're talking about the starting running back. We're talking about the Marvin Harrison Jr.'s of the world. We're talking about the elite of the elite players. If those players decide they want to opt out, then the NCAA football game should make the opportunity to purchase their emote, if you want to call it that. Not emote, because that's obviously emotion. But my point is that you should be able to purchase that player inside the game if you'd like to. Simple. Then you get to find out what you're worth. You set the price point of how much it costs to add that player into the game. See how many people buy it. Well, then you'll find out how much you're actually worth. That should be 100% the way in which they go about this. But if I hear and I see one more time on X.com about how the players are getting taken advantage of because they're only getting $600 and a copy of the game, do you think for a single second that people actually care? Certainly, no doubt, if nobody's in the game, it makes a big difference. But again, where do you justify the cost? There's how many players on a football team? There's literally right around, let's call it an even number because I'm not very good at math, but 100 players on a college football team. Do you think that the value of having the players is worth that much more money? What is it, 600 times 100? Not very good at math. Elliot, what is that math? If you don't know it, please pull out your calculator.
What a mean thing to do to somebody who was a C student in math at best. 600 times 100, 60,000? Yeah.
So we're spending, let's just say, $60,000 roughly on every single team in this game. And that's where, again, I think the NCAA football game, EA Sports, I need to do that better, is being nice. They're being nice. because they could have railroaded these kids, in my opinion. They could have said, you know what, we're going to make it all random players. The whole thing random, and we're going to go to the elite level players that everybody cares about, and we're gonna do a deal with them specifically. But you know what? That interior defensive lineman, it doesn't matter what their name is because the vast majority of people don't care. And after the first few years of the dynasty mode, all of those names erode away anyways. So the players aren't getting hosed. Let's stop acting like they are. And if you think that they are, then I would simply ask you, what do you think they're actually worth? Is it the structure of the game? Is it the brands? Or is it the player? Because I'd venture to say it's the brands more than anything. If you turn on the video game and you're an Ohio State fan, you want to play in the shoe. You want the mascots. You want the fight songs. You want the nostalgia of basically running the. You want the ability to run the program. It's nothing more than a dynasty mode. Am I being overly critical about the idea that I think the players are more than fairly compensated?
I think there's a kid on Appalachian State, the third string punter, or some guy on special teams that's like, I want to be in this game. I'll take my $600 and a free copy. If you don't want to do it, you're free to opt out. That's part of the deal, but you are getting paid. You can't offer everybody $100,000 to be in the game. It's not how life works. I'm pretty sure Charles Barkley made a big stink about it when in NBA.
Michael Jordan
in NBA 2K when they weren't getting paid there either really a ton. So no, I think you're spot on. $600 is fair. A free copy of the game is fair. I don't know what else you want. It's almost an honor. I don't want to use that word, but it's almost an honor to be included in this game and to be paid for it. I think is pretty damn cool.
Could you imagine deciding to opt out if you're like a defensive end or I keep picking on the defensive line. Let's say you're a center. Could you imagine deciding that you do not want to be in the game? And like this ends up being the most iconic game of all time because it was the first one that came back, and then 20 years later, your grandkid is like, "Are you in the game, Grandpa?" or whatever it is, and you're like, "No, I want to stick it to the man. They were gonna pay me $600. I was worth $605."
And it's just one of those things where like if you're a higher paid NIL player, right, you're already getting paid. So why are we turning down free money? And then if you're a guy who's not getting paid by the NIL, why wouldn't you just take your money and be like, all right, I am getting paid a little bit now, something. So I don't understand why anybody would really opt out of it unless you're just being a little bit petty.
It's a select few, and I would agree with that. I actually do believe if there is a Tim Tebow, okay, if you're on the cover of the game, you should get more than $600. But I think the easiest way to do that would be you could opt into some kind of collective, right? Which they're already in part of a collective. I think that's how this whole thing went down in the first place. But you could opt into another collective that says, hey, we deem it, the EA Sports deems these players as being valuable, and they're the ones that have opted out. We're going to offer, maybe you offer it as a whole. Like maybe you enter the game, and there's a package that says, hey, would you like the premium player package? And you got to pay $20, and you get the top 50 people that opted out that EA Sports really wants them in the game. And then that way then you get your money that way. It seems as if it shouldn't be one way or the other.
And I would still say, even if you are, let's say a player makes the cover and this is a high paid NIL, he doesn't want to be on it. If you're on the cover, you're still getting publicity. It's almost like Usher at the Super Bowl halftime show. He doesn't get paid for that, but he gets all the eyeballs in the world on him. And when he drops his new album in a week, or if he already dropped it, I don't know when he drops it, a lot more people are going to download it now. So more people are going to know your name. Your draft stock will surely go up, and all this good stuff. So
yeah, there's no doubt there's ways for these players to make money inside the game. Even if it's stupid emotes. I say stupid, but I mean they're not stupid. Clearly, Fortnite made $1 billion off of it. I'm saying that these kids, if Marvin Harrison Jr. has a touchdown dance, well, the hell, make that an emote that you have to buy, and the kids will buy it. People will buy it, and then therefore that guy makes money. That's how you find true sense of the word fair. Because if people are spending extra money because of that specific individual player, then sure, clearly there's merit to that guy. But to sit here and suggest that you have to go out and you got to pay Kent State center, I mean, what are we doing?
If EA was smart,
can you look up Kent State center? I want to apologize to his family.
Yes.
Thank you.
If they were smart, they would do something where there was some downloadable content, some other deal with the guys that want to get paid more. I think that's a fair take, Trace. I just did the math on all 134 teams on your hypothetical.
Yes.
It would be $8 million that they would have to pay out.
Right.
$8 million. Like, I don't know how much it costs to make the game, how much it already costs for them to get all these.
Right. You have to ask yourself of if they put random players in there versus real players in there, is $8 million worth it? I would say it is worth it. But the thing is like, out of all the players they're putting in the game, how many of the 8 million actually matter?
Right.
Not many. There's really not many. I mean, what would you say? What's a fair, Justin? What's a fair number per team you think people actually care about?
Not many. Well, for one, real quick, to feed off what he just said, saw a graphic yesterday. Darren Rovell had tweeted out that the last video game before it went, dormant, whatever.
14, NCAA 14.
I think they made $8 million off that game. So they're spending about 6 point something mil. It's about the number you had thrown out. They're spending about 6 point something mil on this, $600 a player thing. So like they're losing. Like I don't see how they're gonna, and like if they repeat that number again, making that 8 mil off this video game that's coming out, which I think they're going to make way more than that, just because the buzz and the anticipation and the fact that they had to wait for it. My big thing about all this is, you keep saying people are saying they're only getting $600. I have that same mindset to a certain degree, because I'm like, we haven't had a damn video game for 10 years because of $600 a player. Like, that's why I'm like looking at it from that perspective. It's not that much money, which means that's what's been keeping us from having a video game for the last 10 years or however long it was ago since the last one. So I'm glad that they're getting something, and I wouldn't not be that surprised to see if certain players have a little bit more leverage to be able to kind of get more money, like you talked about the cover athletes or whoever. But EA could also just stick it to them and just put logos of the teams in there. So who knows?
Yeah, but what was that sound, by the way? That was
It was outside.
Oh, was
I don't
that
know.
outside?
It
Andrew
certainly.
It's my fans trying to get in to throw stuff at me. I'm just saying.
Andrew Page is the starting center.
Andrew Page?
Yeah.
All right, Andrew. Andrew, I do apologize. I did not mean that.
Just
ricochet
catching
shot
strays
at
for no
you.
damn reason. Like
Andrew
You know what that
Page,
means?
I'm sure you're a great football player, and I did not mean to disparage you in any shape or fashion.
Whatever-
However, I hope you enjoy your $600 that you rightfully probably didn't really need or deserve, and I hope you enjoy the pizza and the free video game.
Whatever new franchise, or not franchise, dynasty you make, you got to get this guy from the transfer portal immediately.
Good call. And I'm still sticking to this. We got to be ahead of the curve here. We got to be ahead of the game. If it's like Microsoft. We might not have the best product, but if you're the first one to the market, you just dominate the market because no one has another opportunity.
Yeah.
I would really like for Chatterbox to have the best league there is known to man for this dynasty situation. We have to. It's going to take a lot of work. This is going to take a lot of work.
We got to start
because we're
workshopping
going to stream
it now.
We're going to make it to where these are streamed. We're going to have to create a different YouTube channel. Like, this is a genuine thing I'd like to do.
I'm
all
all
about
in.
it.
We're willing to, like,
As long as the game's not like the current Madden,
how many
I'm in.
teams, how many players should we allow in the league that before it gets it's too many?
Well, the initial idea is to like
20.
be teams that are not like the staples, right? Like the Ohio States and Penn States.
Yeah,
right?
you'd have
Like,
to, you have
we're
to
all
start
gonna
at
be MAC teams
I think
and-
you have to start in the same conference, and we got to find a conference that's just,
The MAC.
yeah, the MAC's a great one.